I'm joined by my good friend, Laure Jackson. Hello, Anne.
Hello, it's lovely to see you.
Now, we are doing a wonderfully exciting series. I'm finding this exciting. I'm hoping you'll tell me in a minute you are, but we are doing a very exciting series from my perspective on sensory healthy something. You could draw the little word of what you wanted to put in there. We have looked at sensory healthy festivals, churches. We've looked at driving last time, and we're going to do a part two today. And we're looking at these different scenarios and how do you make them better from a sensory healthy perspective. Have you enjoyed these as much as I already am?
Oh, I cannot wait. I just keep I keep waking up. I keep thinking, oh, we could do this one. Oh, we could do that one. It's just like, well, we'll just one at a time is fine. But it's just like there is so much in everyday life that could just if we just raise people's awareness of how to make life a bit easier in one circumstance or another, or really help where actually it's really hard. Then yeah, I'm really glad to have the opportunity to bounce ideas and go wherever the conversation takes us, as well as helping and hopefully
Oh,
being good fun at the same time.
well, that's the idea, isn't it? Now, a long time ago, we looked at healthy truck driving, basically, many minutes ago. We looked at how can we make trucks better, and effectively, what we ended up doing was coming up with a design for a truck cab that was better than everybody who'd ever done it on the market. Why has my phone logged me out? That's really unhelpful. I was trying to get the questions that I had in front of me. Right, let's do it that way. Okay, so we looked at all sorts of things, but last week, sensory healthy driving, and this week, sensory healthy driving part two. Last week, I guess we might reference that as more to do with the driver or people interacting with cars, might be a way we could surmise what we did last week. This week, people traveling in the car, perhaps not with a steering wheel attached to the front of the car. Being
Yes.
careful because you could get kids with a little steering wheel thing. So, that's what we're looking at this week.
And I think that was so necessary because that's the thing. It's like it's one thing when you are the driver doing your own thing, but when you have a backload of kids in the back, it's like, oh, it takes everything to a completely different level, especially if you've got somebody dealing with their sensory issues and trying to cope as best they can. Never mind about, are we nearly there yet? So yes.
Yes, I mean there are things we can do from nearly there yet. We can give someone a map. We can put little pictures of things of they can spot it as they go. That's quite complicated and involve quite a lot of preparation ahead of time. That might be something that might benefit you if you actually do have a child who or an adult even like my wife who says, "Are we there yet?" It might help them to have. Here's a picture of what you're going to see, and when you see this picture, then you can ask. That might actually be beneficial, but it's quite involved. So I'm guessing really we're looking at how can we prepare in a slightly more realistic way. And for I think many people, that may not be something you can do, especially if you have to just grab your kids, chuck them in a car and rush off because you're late for church again. That is not the scenario when you can actually prepare. But again, they're probably more used to that journey. So where would you like to begin? Because my first thought was vinyl seats because I am of a certain age that does recall the absolute torturous, murderous pain of sitting in a car with vinyl seats in the back that's been baking in the sun. You sit down and then you're screaming because now you've got 40-degree burns on the bottom of your legs.
Yes, it's not. I think what you sit on, and maybe I'll expand it a bit. Say, like, actually, what you sit on, that's a really good place to start because there are so many things that we need to be doing with the legs. Firstly, because if your legs do not touch the floor of the car, that is exhausting very, very quickly. That's really painful. So you will find the children will tuck their legs under, or that's when they'll move over and they'll knock into Johnny, who'll hit them back. Who's like, yeah, what are you doing in my space? And all of that. So it's like, what can we give the feet? Let's start maybe at the bottom of the body. Let's give the feet either something to sit on or for the feet for something to do, which is great proprioceptive feedback and can give you lovely deep touch pressure. So if you're needing a little bit of calming, if you're needing a little bit of somebody just to be a bit more settled in the back, then what about putting a blow up ball? Maybe not blow up because it might pop, but either an inflatable or like if there's some other form of ball that has a little bit of give in it, like a football, one of those like anything that you can throw that is a bit bigger that you can put in the back footwell, and then they can press their feet on it, and you can just you can play around with that as long as they don't kick it around the around the place, which would not be fun. But they can actually just press and move it, and that they can just do a little kind of like bat side to side. It just gives the feet something to do, and also give the feet something to rest on, that in and of itself, for some of my families, is a lifesaver. So it's starting from the feet up, or having little things that you can tie across the bottom so they can flick. We have TheraBands that we attach to chairs if you're at the dining table, but it's those kind of ideas of things that you can wrap around your feet and pull, stretchy bands, bungee jumps, bungee ropes, all of that stuff that you can use to give the legs and the feet something to do. And if you're holding it, well, then you've got something for your resistance for your upper body as well. So that's definitely those are my first go-tos when it comes to keeping children happy and content and calm, and in one place, one seat in the back.
I don't know whether your children had this. We have a spot in the back where they tend to sit, and basically they never ever change. Now,
Mm.
for the longest time, generally speaking, maybe this is probably the same for you. The smallest child, when they're out of a car seat, goes in the middle because generally speaking, it's the smallest bit of gap. And Peter always complained in our last car that when he sat in it, my bottom's gone to sleep, and we could never work out why. And I still don't to this day. He's very, very healthily in weight, so it's not like there's lot too much pressure or not enough pressure because he looks good, but he was always complaining of his bottom going like dead is how he would describe it, and we couldn't work out why. But I guess it's because he's squished in the middle, and the seat, it's half a seat, isn't it? It's not actually a full seat generally.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have, it's not shaped, and it doesn't have the same amount of padding, depending obviously which car you're in and how it is. So yeah, get those wobble cushions, get those different surfaces, definitely cover it if it is vinyl. Get the blankets out. Get even you can just get an inflatable hot water bottles, but don't fill it with hot water. You can like just something that will give a child to move like bottom wise. Find different cushions, find different pillows. Yeah, and experiment before you go, so that on little trips, and just think the week before you're due to go on a bigger trip. What can we do? What can we bring in? What can we try this week? Who needs to try what? And so different seating options, even though you have to be strapped in, then you can at least be sitting with a little bit more padding or a little bit more wibble, a little bit more wobble.
I wish I knew you doing this. I know we knew each other, but 2 years ago, before we started doing these chats, because Peter was always complaining. We're thinking, but what's the problem? What's the problem? Because we just sit in the middle and crack on, and away you go. But yeah, I wish I had these sessions. Like, where were you 2 years ago? Well, you're here now. Now, here's the other one. When we got a newer car, which is a much bigger family car, Nathan then said, I want to sit in the middle seat because he's got 3 full size seats. Now, we've had one car like that in the past,
Mm.
which are great. 3 proper size adult seats. Everyone was happy. And in our newer car, we've got 3 full size adult seats as well. But Nathan now likes to go in the middle, which is fascinating because I've always looked in my rearview mirror at Peter's head. And now I can't see him. I see Nathan, which is lovely. But it's just interesting how they've switched seats because Nathan likes to see where we're going.
Oh, and that will help with car sickness. If any, like I'm sure, folks have found that out already, but having the line up with the vestibular system. So the vestibular system is picking up the direction in which the head is going in. And it picks up every single tilt, every single turn. It has really smart receptors on the inside of your inner ear. And when that's in conflict with the eyes, then we're much more prone to car sickness. So if you have somebody who is able to look out the front, at least they can match, their eyes can go on the road in front, and then they can match what the vision is giving to the vestibular. And that will calm the sickness down, more so. And then attach that with physical, pushing and pulling, getting those bungee ropes, getting things to pull on, getting them to squeeze their hands. So you're using that muscles, like concentric muscles, really good squeeze. Again, they don't have to stick their elbows out and knock their siblings, but just you kind of squeeze in and press. And we call it a prayer press if you put your both hands together, and you get that lovely proprioceptive input, which is also good for car sickness. And then you can use all the chewing, possibly the ginger, any other smells that you might be able to spray to help with that as well. So
There are
mm,
things we can do, but seat
yeah.
position I mean, is that an age of order of the older child gets their choice? Because often I would be driving, Stephen would be sat as a baby in a car seat behind the passenger seat. I would generally be driving, little mirror extra that we used to stick on. I could see him. As he got older, I found it interesting. He now sits generally behind the driver's seat, which is usually where I would sit, because I tend to do more driving than Joe does. So I then don't get to see him. And I wonder if that's a throwback that he was always being looked at by me in the rearview mirror. And now he's on the other side.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But also, if you are used to driving, it's quite disconcerting when you sit on the left. Obviously, in Britain, we drive on the right, and do we? What's
Left.
the steering wheel? No, well,
Please say we drive on. I would. You sit on the right of the car and drive on the left. Just
thank you. That's good to
just
explain
checking.
that. But but if you're sitting on the left and you are a driver, your visual processing and your spatial awareness is very different. So it's like it's very you want to move because you just think you're going to crash or you're going to scratch something because you're not your perception, your visual perception is very different when you're in the driving seat and how close what you can do with the left side of your car and what you can do with the right side of your car when you're seated in different positions. So it is interesting that a lot of the drivers will often choose to sit on the right hand side behind the driver's seat because again the perception is more comfortable for them, because if you're on the left then or the opposite side to the steering wheel, then you can feel a little bit like, oh, that's a bit close, or it's a little more anxiety provoking than perhaps it might need to be.
I'd never thought about that before,
Mm.
but usually because I'm driving the car, so that's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Right now, also, I was thinking about games, which I know you mentioned, but games that you can play in a car. Now, we're really fortunate. So years ago, we were coming back from Scotland, a super long trip, and Joe and I said at that point, we are never doing a long trip without a DVD player in the car. Just never ever going to happen again. So
Right.
we did buy a DVD player for the back of the car because Stephen, little baby, drove to Scotland and he was sort of okay with it at like 2 or 3. And I think he was all right with the distance. But on the way back, you could tell he'd already worked out this is a long distance and I'm not happy with this because I want to get out and play. And so
Mm.
he was not a happy chappy on the way down. Sorry, Stephen. But it's a good story. So then we bought a DVD player for the back of the car. Now, our current car, the bigger one, has got DVD screens in the back of the seats, which is superb. Although the poor passenger front has to put the DVD in and out. But hey, that's a small issue. But they have the DVDs on. And I find it fascinating that some like to watch films and some don't, because for some people, staring at a digital screen will actually create sickness in the car that perhaps otherwise wouldn't have been.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes along with that mismatch of the visual and the auditory, actually, because your auditory is picking up from the screen and is conflicting with the auditory system, that obviously the sounds from the car should be telling you, giving you more awareness of whereabouts you are and what's happening and how fast you're going. All of those clues are coming from the auditory system as well, from what we're hearing. And you take that out and you change vision, but your vestibular system is still telling you that you're moving, and you might be twisting and turning, but it's not getting the rest of that input from the rest of the senses. So yeah.
So here's one then. One of their favorite films when we had a DVD player back in the day was the film Cars, which is all about cars in a karting land, racing and driving. But they loved that film. But I would imagine for many adults, perhaps that would be the worst possible type of film, because you've got racing engines and wheel spin and squeaking around corners while you're doing 30 miles an hour through a town.
Yeah, you have to be a really well integrated adult to be able to cope with that. Thing. Oh, where's that sound coming from? Oh, it's only the back. Or yeah, you need all your senses absolutely on alert and definitely heightened to be able to work out what is real and what's not real. Yeah.
So how does that get more complicated as we become adults? Not for everybody, but I know, like for example, the spinny thing on a circle that kids sit on, the name's completely
The
gone.
roundabout.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, that's not great, is it? On a roundabout, children generally will be better able to handle spinning around in a circle than an adult. So how does that bit, which I'm guessing is the inner ear stuff, getting messed up? How does that equate to watching a digital screen and getting confused? Is it the same sort of processing, or is it something different?
Well, your senses, when you're physically in a roundabout, everything is happening together. You're getting the same feedback. You're getting the same information from all your senses. So there's no conflict. And when you're younger, you can definitely, unless you've got sensory overreactivity, you can definitely cope with more sensory input when you're younger than you can when you get older. I think when you get older, just everything changes. But so where are we going with that? But yeah, everything is in alignment when the whole body is involved in doing something natural like that. Whereas if you're on a screen, that's not a natural thing, and you've got a conflict going on. I mean, ballerinas actually try and use have a fine balance between how they can spin so much and yet not get dizzy. And they use their eyes well. They use their eyes to kind of hold a position, but then it eventually does flip round. So they've got a fine, yeah, it's just a fine line between trying to cheat the brain into getting overloaded by all of this vestibular input that will just make you sick or completely dizzy and lose your coordination to if it's too much conflict, then you're going to get sick with it.
I've seen ballerinas on films. I'm not really into ballet, but I've seen them where their head sort of flicks around, doesn't it? So they have a point they're looking at, their body's moving, and all of a sudden their head then flicks around faster than the body to catch up. And it's kind of impressive to watch. But I guess that is tricking the brain to say we're not actually spinning around. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
But it's probably not for most of us, but
No.
professionals. Right, back to cars. So one of the simple things that I was thinking about was games. So, I mean, there's all sorts of games, and what am I thinking of is one of the games you can do, starting with a letter. What can we see? What can you see? And that's a really simple one that you can do. Card games. I remember driving to Denmark as a passenger. I was a small kid. We drove to Denmark, so we drove across England in this big old taxi, got a ferry, and then drove across to Legoland in Denmark. But we were playing cards in the back because it was a really big wide seat, and there were more of us than there should have been, but hey. But we played cards. There are various things you can do that perhaps are not digital, which might be better for some. But of course, then potentially, if you're playing cards, you've got the issue of the smell that could be unpleasant for somebody.
Yeah, you could have anything. Again, you got the mix of vision. You've not got at least it's nice if you can physically get involved with something. If it's not the feet, then get the hands, and if it's not the hands doing something, well, then get the mouth. Whether it be making sure that you have the snacks in the car, that's another option. Have your snack in the car, but take a break to go for a walk. So often we do it the other way. We often think, actually, let's stop and we'll have something to we'll sit down and have a meal, or we'll sit down and have something to drink. You'd be much better flipping it so that you can still stop at the service stations, but buy the things that you can eat in the car to help the time pass, but also because you've got proprioceptive input going into the mouth as you suck the straw, as you chew. So yeah, but go for a walk, still take the break, but use it to charge up the proprioceptive vestibular system. Or even ideally, we need to have, here we go, redesigning everything. We need to get some massage stations, all these little vibration stations where you can sit, and get the lovely dose of vibration. Oh, actually, do you know that these fish spas, that's an alternative one. The beauty spas that could be at petrol stations, service stations, and they have the fish. I don't know if you've ever experienced it. You have the fish in your foot spa and they nibble your feet. So it will be a complete nightmare for some people, but for others, you've got this lovely tactile experience and your feet are soft and warm and you get a kind of a little massage, but it's fish that are doing it for you. So service stations can have a whole sensory experiences to renew and refresh the body, and leave the food to actually eating in the car. Because that's a great way of passing time, unless you're the driver, which is then a bit unfortunate because it's a bit more of a hazard to be eating and driving at the same time. And I'm not sure if we're allowed to do that anymore. I don't know. But
Also, please don't put a foot spa next to the pedals in the front seat of the driver's car. Not a good idea with little fish floating around. Would not be. Not be
this is for the service stations, for them to provide something for you to go out of the car to do.
I think you've described my biggest nightmare, to be honest, is sticking my feet in a thing with fish. I would be absolutely terrified of splatting them, or jerking or something and kicking them out. That would not be my idea of a pleasurable afternoon. Absolutely not.
Do you know, I'm going to get you a gift. It's like, when's your birthday? It's like, no,
July.
I hear you.
Um,
I hear you, sir.
we all have different interests and things that we enjoy, and that would not be one for me. Massage, fantastic, but no fish. No, they can stay in the sea, thanks, or in an aquarium. I'm not sticking my feet and standing up. Right, I have no idea what we're talking about now. That's completely throwing me. Yes, games.
Oh yeah.
Did you have any games that work with your kids well?
Um,
I know Jersey's not like masses of motorways, but you did car
yeah.
journeys.
Oh yeah, no, because when we used to go back over to the UK, it was just like, oh, this is a novelty. What do we do? I mean, certainly counting, like counting when you duck under a bridge, which is quite nice. It's a good vestibular thing. Every time you go under a bridge, you actually physically duck. Um, if they're electricity wires, because Jersey, our electricity pylons, our electricity is buried under the roads. So it's a new thing for us to see electricity pylons. So every now and again, when you see things going across a road, it's quite a novelty up high. So yeah, we have definitely have the dip. That's something. But I spy with my little eye. It's such a good one for trying to help them to absorb what is going on in the environment when, especially with a screen, as good as it can be for distraction and passing time and so on. And if you're not getting car sick, it is a phenomenal thing, but you miss so much of what is going on out there in the countryside or the cities, the towns, the architecture, the way people dress, what they do. There's just so much richness in sitting and looking. It's a lovely thing, and you're forced to do it in a car because there's not a lot else that you can do. So I Spy with My Little Eye definitely a favourite for helping visual discrimination and picking things out in the environment, as well as being great for letter recognition and things like that. But yeah.
There's snooker, not with a snooker table. You not
Okay,
played this.
explain.
So you have to look for a red car, and then you work your way through. So white car and a red car, and then you have to find the brown, the green, the yellow, the blue, pink, and the black.
Oh,
I mean,
clever.
it gets hard because there's not that many red cars around. White cars have been replaced by silver, so you sort of have to adapt it from 20, 30 years ago when white was more popular. Every police car was white. Now they're not. So as long as you can see police cars, which of course have vanished off the road, but they were white, which was quite good. So you can play snooker.
That is a really good one. I didn't that's a great one. And there's also things if people are good with their letters and their numbers, creating it's like is it not toggle. There's one of the games that you can create other words and stuff with the number plates of the cars in front. Or the funny phrases. What can you create when you've put those letters together?
There are some simple things. We went out to do some shopping last night. We weren't really in a great happy place as a family, but we got to go and do some shopping. And so we just did it backwards. I don't mean we walked backwards. I mean, we started at the opposite end of the supermarket because Nathan said, it'll be really cool. We can get the heavy stuff in the trolley. So we did it backwards. And I'll be honest, I was getting quite stressed thinking, yeah, but we haven't put the veg in yet. And where's the meat? Because that's next. And then we have the chill stuff and that's not in. And I got fizzy water in here. And I've got a bottle of squash. We got some tins, but where's the meat? And I couldn't get. I really found it really stressful. It was good fun. We had a laugh as a family, and we try and make
Yeah,
mundane can be fun, but it
yeah.
was just I found it really hard to do it in a really different way, because sometimes change for the sake of change actually may not be beneficial, and also sometimes it might be working through because hey, it's just change, and change can be hard.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally get that. I was just thinking while you were talking about just some of the other games and some of the other things that we've done differently when we've done purposefully.
Hmm.
And things like we've had bird song. If you have got a CD or any other player or getting it streamed through the car, just so that you can identify. So using the auditory system to focus on if eyes need to be on the road. Um, or you just want to just be more relaxed about what you're seeing rather than having to pay too much attention with it. Putting something on auditory audio books, audio quizzes, birdsong. Birdsong was one of the ones that we did just to try and again you teach and you train, but it also helps you then pay attention and then you can wind the windows down. Or you can tell how old I am. I'm doing that with winding the windows down. Rather than using my fingers just to press a button. But yeah, you wind the windows down when you're stopping, you've got to stop for traffic or whatever else. It's because what can we hear? What are the nature sounds we can hear? What are the animals we might be able to hear? Um, Yeah, pick out the senses, and then what can you smell too? Yeah.
Here's a complete little aside. I remember watching something about a guy who loved his car but wanted to renovate it and make it modern but look old. And he
Uh-huh.
had the old, what you're doing with the windows, the manual winders, but they were fixed as a switch. So it looked like a manual winder, but if you pushed it up a little bit, the window went up, and if you push it down, the window went down. So he actually used the original manual turny bits, the winders, and he actually converted them into switches, so it looked like the whole old-fashioned manual thing, but it was literally push up or push down was the button. It was very cool.
Oh, that would confuse me no end. But yeah, I mean, I'd get there eventually, and that's our adaptive brains, isn't it? And some people that would cause a meltdown. That really, or you just get a broken handle, wouldn't you? For some people who couldn't pivot, but very clever, very clever.
Here's something we do sometimes on the motorways, because we do quite a lot of miles with the radio, is one, we've had conversations about door handles because so many cars now are streamlined and aerodynamic and they get rid of the door handles. And all I can think of is no, it's stupid. No, it is making such inconsequential difference, and yet you can't open the car door without a manual. So that's a conversation we've had. Then some of the chats, or you watch the driver thinking, are they going to move over at any point? They're still in the wrong lane. Are they going to move over? So you can have like a bit of fun with it. Are they ever actually going to move back to the left where they're supposed to be? So there's all sorts of things, and of course you can get a bit hostile and rude if you want to. Not ideal, but we have conversations about things that we see because we like to talk as a
Mhm.
family. Therefore, we'll spot something like a car door handle or the indicator that doesn't go off.
Mm.
Have they seen it? Are they going to do it? Is it now? Is it now? So you can have some fun with this stuff, or you can get really wound up by it, which is pointless because they can't hear you. You flashing your lights or getting aggressive is you in the wrong.
Mhm.
So there are things you can do if you're really desperate, but don't allow that to spin over into getting angry and hostile and aggressive. You just need to have fun. Don't mock people or make fun of them. That's not good. But actually, we were having quite a fun conversation about door handles. Like, where have they gone? How does that person get into that car in the morning? There's no handle. Do they just stand outside the car looking at it? And it just sparked a really fun conversation about buying a brand new car and not being able to get into it. And it's funny how you can have these chats that spin away.
How bizarre! I haven't even seen it. I didn't know it was a thing. And it's just like, except that I do. I walk up to my car, and because the keys are in my bag, it opens, and you just think, oh, that's kind of handy. But there are occasions when I've walked away and it hasn't locked, and it's just like, oh dear, that's not so good, right? But
So how do you check it? You have to give your keys to a stranger or leave them in the middle of nowhere to walk back to your car to make sure it's actually locked and hope that
mm,
no one nicks your keys that are now over there. Yes. Driverless or keyless entry, clever, but with a caveat of yes, but.
mm,
So that's the other thing. We've had chats about car design, and you just find things that are fun to chat about. Or
yeah.
the other one is spot the road workers when you're going through the cones. Maybe there's some traffic, intersection, and there's traffic on the motorway, and there's cones out everywhere. Can we spot anybody working? That's always a good fun one. No, we were sat at the traffic lights yesterday because they've closed the road off and they're doing some stuff, and we were sat there because we were sitting there for about 10 minutes because there's like a dual carriageway that had been closed off for some roadworks. So we had to go around a little diversion bit on a funny roundabout thing, and we were stuck, and it was letting two cars through at a time because this is like for local traffic. Nobody ever drives there. Didn't change the traffic lights. So then we have a fun chat. Oh, the door's open. Are they going to do something? Oh, having a coffee. Oh, there's the lights going. And you can have fun with it, or you get really wound up, which is not great.
Oh, I think it's so good. If the take-home message for me would be from this, just make light-hearted anything you possibly can, anything that is happening, and any stress that is, or anything that has a potential to invoke stress in your car and in your car journey. See how you can turn it around, make light of it. That will, yeah, be very, very helpful.
But it can be building memories. We came back the other way through the same bit of dual carriageway, and we were trying to work out where are the workers? Are they doing some work? Well, they're parked in the middle of the road. Does that constitute the reason to shut the thing down? They could have parked off the carriageway. So we just had fun with it, and then we decided since the road was actually missing in one section, maybe it was wise.
Yeah.
So. But either you get really frustrated, like you said, with the mundane of life, and it can get mundane. We do lots of driving, so you can think, oh, it's this portion of the M1 again, or you think, hey, that's fine. What's going on over here? What's going on over there? Or you have a conversation, which we love to do with the music. One thing I can't do is talk only radio, which is odd because I run a radio station. But if it's just voices, especially sport, I get a headache and I can't tolerate it at all. I can't live with it. Music and interlude chat is fine, but too prolonged, I struggle if it's sport. Non-sport I can cope with,
Mhm.
but not sport talk on the radio, which we don't listen to anyway.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. And that's where we each need to know our own sensory thumbprints so that we can thrive in sensory health.
Amen.
Yes.
I think it's because they start to shout when they get excited. And
Um,
I don't like shouty chat because
yes.
it makes me very uncomfortable.
Yes.
We're all different and wonderfully and beautifully made, intrinsically different, and yet all made in this image of God, which is beautiful.
Amen.
You're made purposely and on purpose by God who loves you. Now, I'm keep on saying this because it's important after what we've seen in Parliament recently. But yeah, God made you. And if things aren't quite working out right, like your son says, Dad, my bum goes to sleep every time we get in the car, and perhaps you need to talk to Anne, who will tell you to get a little blow at football. Or I like the hot water balloon thing, the hot water bottle with some sort of cold water, so they can wobble at the back. That would have been amazing. There's a thought. Oh, another one for you. Motorbikes.
Mm.
Seats. So there are different types of motorbikes. Really, really briefly. There are what we call a naked motorbike, which is just a bike. It's got no fairing. It's just literally lights and an engine and a seat. And then you can go up to the sports bikes, which have lots of fairing and all the rest of it. But generally speaking, the more you go away from the naked bike to a fully faired bike, the less the seat gets comfortable. So people who go long distance on a sports bike often will find their backside is now in agony. And I remember a great story about a bunch of bikers who were going through France and they were just thinking, I'm going to die. My bottom is just dead. And one bloke walked into a service station in France and he found it was a pregnancy cushion, like a tiny one. And he bought it and he sat on his motorbike and said, "Oh, that's better." Of course, then all the other bikers went in to try and get the same. It was the last one, he said with a big grin and shot off. And because sometimes stuff that's faster isn't necessarily more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And you've got to find the balance. Where are you at this moment in time? What do you need? Speed or comfort?
Comfort.
Yeah.
Every day. You see older folk wearing orthopedic shoes. Oh, they're so old. No, it's just more comfortable. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I have been wearing comfortable shoes my entire life. Why? Why not? Why would you want to put yourself through pain just to look trendy and fashionable? Seriously, what's the point? Walking around London the other day, what struck me was the number of women who are wearing dresses that looked like they should have dresses with heels on, and yet they're wearing trainers or pumps or something. I'm thinking, that just seems sensible. The amount of walking you do, so everything about them just looks like a normal woman in a dress, except for the feet when you're thinking, that's not quite right. And you realize it's because they're wearing trainers, generally, is what I saw. And you think, it just makes sense. It's comfortable. Why would you wear heels unless you had to?
I think it's a great fashion trend. Well, it's not even a trend, or it's just becoming much more norm, the norm. And I think, oh, that's great. Because I've started to really enjoy dresses, but it's just like footwear's tricky. Unless you can then wear, and I wear lots of trainers or flats. It's just brilliant.
Why put yourself through pain unnecessarily is my simple question. Oh, fashion needs to hurt. No. Journeys don't have to be horrible either. There is much you can do, as we've discussed. So I'm having fun with these, especially the driving ones, which is definitely my wheelhouse. 20 years of professional driving. Yeah. Right. Anne, thank you. We better stop because I'm just rambling here. Having lots of fun, which is great. If people want to connect with you and perhaps they have a child who can't sit still in the back of the car, it could be a sensory health issue. It could be a physical issue. It could just be they need the toilet issue. There are lots of reasons, but people like Anne-Laure Jackson can help you. So to connect with Anne-Laure Jackson and get the help that you need for your family, for your husband, for your wife, for your children, for your grandmother, simple. pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/ALJ, and you can connect with Anne-Laure Jackson. Thank you again.
Thank you. See you next time.
The July issue of Pure Media, the magazine, comes out on Friday, the 4th of July, with a plethora of amazing writers speaking about life, hope, money, technology, and more. In our July edition, we take a focus on Matt McKay and his band Meet Your Maker, as well as shining a light on John Cox and so much more. The digital version is always freely available online. But did you know you can also enjoy the convenience of a printed subscription too? For all of this and more, just head over to www.puremediathemagazine.com www.puremediathemagazine.com